What's up, guys? Welcome back. This is Inside Fitness Radio presents Total Fitness Podcast. My name is Matthew.
I'm Walter.
Today, we are going to be going online on TikTok because there is a fun little trend, I guess, now that a few fitness YouTubers or fitness TikTokers have been going into gyms and asking people, are they natural or not? The reason we are going to actually talk about this is because we've been in bodybuilding, we've been in fitness for so long, we know we can instantly spot somebody, but there's so many people who are getting into fitness that don't realize what is realistic for a natural or unrealistic. Now, I will preface this by saying there are some people who, 10, 15, 20 years of training, they look absolutely incredible, but they've also have like no cheat days. They've been training their ass off for years. They have great genetics. That's like a 1% of people in the gym who look very, very, very good. Now, I will get into this a little bit more in depth when I show you one of the examples of somebody who says they're not. And I will, again, say this disclaimer, but just keep that in mind. Anyways, let's get right into it. So this is Kenny KO. And if you don't know, he's been around for a couple of years, but he's going around his gym and this is what he does.
For you. Are you natural or not?
No.
You're not natural?
I'm not natural.
So, what's your cycle?
There's Anavar, Primo, Clen, and T3.
All right, we don't need to listen to that part. He's just joking around there. But nonetheless, there's one video. Here's the other video that I did want to show where he goes up and he asks, where is it? Oh, it was supposed to be Mike O'Hearn, but here, let's ask this one.
You're natty or not?
I'm currently natty.
Just because you're putting up numbers, I assume you're probably just rowing this.
Definitely.
But you're currently natty.
I am.
So you haven't always been natty.
No.
So you have to keep in mind, she said currently natty.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer that if you've taken steroids in your life, you are no longer natural. You have an advantage. It's just the way it is. Like studies and science have shown that if you've taken an anabolic and you've gone off it, you still can hold on to more muscle mass. You still have the, not to a crazy extent, but it does kind of put you just above baseline a little bit in terms of strength gains, muscle gains, recovery, all that sort of stuff. Not crazy, but anyways. So there's another one, and if you look at her, the average person walking into a gym, yeah, sure, she has, bigger biceps, decent sized legs, but you wouldn't go up to her and instantly think that she is on something. And obviously she's not at that point, but she was on something. You go up to this guy, he's the same. He's being asked if he's on something. 100% he is on something. You don't look like that and not be on something. Same with this one. You look at her and she honestly does not look like anything crazy, but she was on something. You go through the list of all these people here, this woman here, a little bit leaner definition, obviously just looks like she's been working out for quite some time, not natural, right? You go through it. And again, this is my favorite one. We're going to look at this gentleman right here who claims to be natural. Even with the best genetics in the world, even with the longest training, the most optimized diet, whatever it is, you're not looking like that naturally. So that's that. Realistic versus unrealistic. There is a lot of beginners that are starting off and they look to these people who claim not to be natural. And nowadays, there is a lot more people that are coming out and say they're on steroids or anabolics, which is great on the male side of things, but there's still not a lot because you have still guys like Michael Hearn or Simeon Panda who are saying they're not natural when, in my belief, they're clearly on something. The issue then comes with women. Women are starting to get way more into the gym. The past couple of years, there has been an explosion of a lot more women getting into the gym, learning the science behind it, learning why it's good for them, why they should be doing it, understanding that, no, you don't get bulky, whatever it is. Then they go and they look at women like I just showed you, and they're like, that is a goal. And it's like, well, that is definitely achievable to an extent with years of training, but they're still on something. Understanding what is realistic versus unrealistic is really hard nowadays because of the natural versus not natural conversation. And also it can be discouraging because you would look at somebody like that and you'd be like, no, that's not natural, so I can never achieve it. People that you are looking up to tend to be women or men who are looking to be social media influencers, looking to be bodybuilders on stage, magazine cover models, whatever it is. That is typically where you're getting these people taking anabolics. They're trying to achieve a higher level of performance than the average person. Look at every sports athlete ever. Like I hate to say it, but 90% of your favorite athletes are probably on some sort of PED. You know,
If only to heal from their injuries more quickly.
it's still a performance enhancer, right? You know,
Absolutely.
I think I can't remember which federation it was, but there is, you know, TRT is technically classified as a natural unbanned substance, depending. I can't remember if this was back in the day with the NFL or something like that. But yeah, TRT. If you were injured, you could take TRT to speed up your recovery process.
Yeah.
They don't make you bigger. They just help you recover so you can then train harder and eat more to then get bigger and stronger and yada, yada, yada. But nonetheless, realistic versus unrealistic.
Well, it's completely unrealistic, but unfortunately, as we discussed before, realism is not what anybody's going for. You know, women, it's a little different, I think, because they come into the gym generally to try and achieve a level of health. If they pick up weights, it's because they've learned that they're not going to get bulky necessarily. But they do love the sudden feeling of strength. There's empowerment in being able to deadlift that extra weight and that sort of thing. And so they then want to become stronger, and they fall into the trap. And they are definitely using at higher percentages than I ever thought. The men are starting at 15, 16 years old, coming to the gym, looking at these influencers and wanting to use steroids to get bigger. They haven't finished puberty yet. They haven't settled into their own hormonal patterns, and they're already trying to change them. So I think it's a dangerous trend. I mean, in terms of longevity and the stuff that turns me on, I mean, they're looking at what hormones can do to extend life and that sort of thing. Yes, but it's not all about just the way I look. You know, it's about mental health. It's about keeping going as you age. And even that, the science is starting to prove that no, after a certain age, you should not be necessarily doing any kind of enhancement.
Yeah.
Because it has other side effects that are worse as you age.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that I give him credit for going around and asking people, because I think it does give anybody who comes across his site is going to realize what the looks are and how they may be looking at enhanced as their ideal when they shouldn't.
That is one part of it. The other part, like, I do appreciate people coming out and saying they are not natural anymore. Like, I've never had an issue with people saying they're on something or not. Like, that's your life. You can do what you want. My issue tends to be more from the people that say they are not when they clearly are, giving that unrealistic expectation. And the second part is the more people that come out and talk about it, it's funny because a lot of people are coming out to warn against it, but they still do it, and they do it heavily.
Yeah. I
can't remember how to pronounce his last name. Noel Dizel or something like that. Big 270 plus pound bodybuilder. He blew up on TikTok because he was willing to admit, like, yes, I take steroids. No, I do not recommend anybody take steroids. But you look at him, and it's funny because it's like, you look at him and you're like, well, shit, he looks great. He's strong as hell. He doesn't have health issues, it doesn't seem. Even like Larry Wheels, he came out talking about, you know, his health issues with doing like 10 plus years of steroids and blasting and cruising. And then he went off, but he's right back on. Yeah. Like, you look at these guys, it's like, well, how serious can these health issues actually be if I do my research properly? And yet it's like, realistically, if you do things smart and you're just doing like a TRT as you are aging, when your natural levels drop off, it is probably beneficial to you because you're able to keep more strength. You're able to allow for a little bit more hormone balance and, you know, libido, mental health gain, whatever it is, as you're aging. 16 to 20-year-old kids do not need extra testosterone in their body.
No.
Whether or not you are trying to be a bodybuilder, which don't. Like if your one goal in life is to be a professional bodybuilder, you need shit outside of that, because A, it's not lucrative the way it used to be, and B, it's just not a smart decision.
It's kind of like being an actor.
Like you need to have something else
Yeah,
going
day
for you,
job.
right?
Yeah.
But like you have these guys that are like, well, I want to be a social media influencer, I want to be a YouTube star, so I have to look this way, I have to be taking this stuff. I know bikini models, and when I say bikini models, I'm talking about competitors that are 6 months into a training program taking Anabar and clenbuterol because their coach told them, hey, if you want to win, you got to do this, and they want to win. They look at the Miss Olympia bikini and they're like, well, that's natural. No, it's not. Those women are on shit. Every single one of those competitors is on something. High level, they're all on something. So they're like, well, I want to achieve that. I want to have the same following as so-and-so. I want to have the same YouTube presence as so-and-so. I have to look this way. So I'm going to possibly screw up my hormones. I'm going to screw up my health possibly, just so I can show off and look this way. When reality, this day and age, there's so many people that look good on social media. Nobody gives a shit anymore. Nobody's following you because you look good. People follow you because you have a personality or something else going for you. That's the other thing.
That's it entirely. I mean, the ones who come up who look good, they may get some followers at first, but they don't have a long-standing business
No.
as an influencer.
Well,
You know, because somebody else is going to come up with better abs. Somebody else is going to come up with a bigger chest. Whatever, you're going to disappear.
we just talked about this with Jen Aniston and Jennifer Lopez, right? Our last podcast, we were talking just about this. They're not successful and put on a cover because they look good at 53. They would not be on that cover if they were nobodies outside of just looking good. They are insanely successful in other aspects of their life that just happens to be accelerated by the fact they also look good. So it's like, yeah, if you're trying to be a social media influencer and you're like, well, I have to take steroids and that's all you do, you're not going to really get anywhere with it.
No.
Like people are like, well, bodybuilders, they're all gym rats. All they think about is gym. It's like, no, you look at any of these top influencers who look incredibly good, have big presence, they have personality behind the camera. They are showing personality. They're either funny, they're entertaining. Yeah, maybe some of the older school who started off right when social media became a thing. Yeah, sure, maybe they just have the looks going for them. But all those guys that I used to follow right when Instagram started and right when TikTok, they all fell off because they didn't have any personality to back it up. Because then the next dude came along who also looked good, or if not better.
And you've got to have something to say.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just looking good. You know, what is it that you have to give to people that make them want to come back and look at you again?
Yeah.
Because if it's just look at me, they will stop.
Yeah. And that's actually another thing with the anabolics use. I see a lot of younger, maybe not younger, but just newer people coming online talking about their anabolics use now because they're trying to be the next Noel Dizel or whatever his name is, or the next Greg Doucette, you know, talking about steroid use and all this. It's like that niche is already filled by a lot of people. You're late on that. So now you're just somebody who looks good talking about their steroid use. It's not going to get you anywhere. And it's like, again, if you're super young, that's not good. It's not a good place to be in. Realistically versus unrealistically, though, there is a huge issue more so on the female side of thing. I think guys kind of understand that, you know, realistically, you look at Phil Heath or Mr. Olympia, Big Ramy, obviously they're not natural, right? Women will look at like their wellness competitors or their top bikini competitors, and because it's not like crazy dense muscle, they'll be like, well, yeah, they're natural. Maybe they're just on Clen, which, you know, some people think Clen is natural.
Yeah.
It's like, well, it's still an enhancer, but nonetheless, they'll look at them and they'll be like, well, you know, they're not crazy muscular. They're not crazy lean. It's just hard work and diet. It's still hard work and diet, if not more so, because you're on something. You can push yourself even further and you have to be smart with what you're doing. So you maintain your health.
Yeah.
Still, that's where that line is drawn of realistic versus unrealistic. And that's my big problem with this whole society of natural or not. Lying is not a good thing. Telling the truth sometimes is not a good thing. It's a really gray area that we're in.
Yeah.
Well, no,
Yeah.
because like if you tell the truth, then you have these 16 to 19 to, you know, that age range of kids that are, or you have the 6 month into fitness bikini model who is starting taking Anavar, you know, 2 months ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's where the truth can be bad, because now people are looking at it like it's weed. Weed's legal in Canada. Should you be smoking it still? It's still not good for your health.
There's, depending on how much. And look at me. I mean, I'm hardly the one to say, because I don't do any of that shit anymore. But, you know, if you have to constantly be smoking to maintain the amount of mellow that you want, then there's an issue, you know?
Yeah.
And there are those people who are constantly going the way I used to drink. So, you know, that's got to stop. But you can't do that with your steroids as well. You can't think that steroids are and it's interesting to me that, you know, a number of the people that are saying that they're using are living in a country where it's illegal. I mean,
Canada's a gray area because it's
yeah,
legal to possess, not buy or sell,
that's it.
which is
That's
weird. But in the States, it is, right?
Yeah.
And Kenny Ko is from the States. He's going around talking to people in the States saying, but it's, I don't know. It's lying or telling the truth can be bad. Either side of that coin can be bad to an impressionable person. And realistically, you look at anybody who walks in the gym. We've been working in gyms for how long now? We've been in this industry for so long now that it's like 95% of people that walk in the gym are clueless even what a steroid does. They're clueless to the fact that a steroid is not just steroid. They think like you buy a bottle of steroids. It's like, no, there's, you know, there's that. And they're also clueless as to, and they're also clueless as to the fact that you walk into you look at a professional sports team, or you look at a professional boxer. Look at Conor Benn. He just got popped, right? 90% of your athletes are on performance enhancers, whether or not be anabolics or something else, blood doping or thermogenic or whatever it is. It's still an enhancer. But again, it's that gray area of like, we want to sell more supplements. We want to sell covers. We want to sell product. We want to sell airtime. We are trying to make a $1 billion industry. Every Sunday, we have to have the best of the best colliding heads.
Yeah.
And, you know, people have to buy tickets and we have to have airtime for that and whatever. You know, why was this Conor Benn fight? So Conor Benn is a boxer who was supposed to fight Chris Eubank Jr. This was such a big fight because their fathers had such a big rivalry and it passed down the generation. So this was supposed to be a massive, massive fight over in the UK a couple of weeks ago. Conor Benn, for a voluntary drug testing, failed it twice. Like, obviously this dude is on something. Most boxers are on shit. Most MMA fighters are on stuff. There's ways around it. There's certain things that they don't test for. You know, when you're higher level and you're pulling in millions of dollars for your promoters and management and the actual drug testing association, you might have somebody on the inside telling you, hey, we're going to be coming around your house at so-and-so time.
Yeah.
So make sure you're off of that stuff 4 weeks in advance so it's out of your system. Or make sure you have the bag of pee from your best friend who has just been sitting on the couch doing nothing for the past 12 years.
That's it. So much organization is necessary.
Really. The point of my rant here is I'm not condemning it. I'm not saying it should be legalized because that would create a whole wealth of other problems. But it should be addressed to there should be more information given that is not just steroids make me look this good. You need to have the good, you need to have the bad, you need to have the ugly. Too much impressionable people are walking into the gyms, too many men and women, they, thems, whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
There's too many people walking in and being like, hormones are easy to mess with because it's just a pill or it's just an injectable. It looks good on the outside, but what's going on the inside?
That's it. And you can't tell. And if you tell your doctor, then you might have a whole other can of worms that you got to open as well.
Yep.
So
And I said, if you don't tell your doctor either, that means you're probably in a really, like, you should not be taking anabolics. You know, there's many opinions I hold. Anyways, man, we kind of got off topic, but we sort of stayed on topic there. Unrealistic
that
versus
tendency.
realistic. Yeah, I know. Nonetheless, unrealistic versus realistic. Like, just be careful of who you are looking up to in this industry. Realize not only about the steroids, but also like 90% of pictures are photoshops, 90% of pictures have great lighting. Not everybody looks like that all the time, right? So that's the end of my rant there. And yeah.
I will add this. I mean, if you are going to do them, and I think I've said this before, if you are going to do them, then do your homework. Learn how they work, learn when they work, and use them accordingly. Don't let someone say, do this, do this, do this. And, you know, you'll need to have whatever, because there's a lot of people out there who are making their living by selling steroids to the unsuspecting. And they will sell you more than you need because it pads their bank account.
Yeah, you
Or
need
their
to like do it
wallet
under
because they don't have a
guidance.
bank account.
You need to do it under like hopefully a doctor's guidance,
That would be amazing.
a sports doctor's guidance who actually has an endocrinology background. They understand the hormones, they understand what to look for. Hopefully they're prescribing you something if that is what is going on. If not, then again, at least tell your doctor so they know they should be looking out for certain things on your blood panels, and you should be
Markers.
getting blood work at least 3 times a year, if not more, depending on what if you're competing, if you are an athlete, whatever it comes down to. But yeah, anyways, that's the end of my rant.
Okay, good stuff.
Thank you guys for watching. We do appreciate it. If there's any topics that you want us to cover, we'd be more than happy to. You know where to find us right below here. Stay safe.
Stay breezy.
Take care, guys.